Hey everyone, today's video is going to be talking about how to create a lid for your vessel. So I have this small little coil pot here and I've got a slab, right? So the first thing that you need to do to create a lid is you need to make sure that the rim of your vessel is pretty equal, okay? So as you can see, there's areas that are higher, areas that are lower. It's not really flat. So what I'm gonna do, and I show this in my how to finish pots video, is I'm gonna start at the lowest point of my pot, and I'm just going to, with the needle tool, carefully remove any excess clay. So this pot is not leather hard yet by any means. It's probably just a little bit before that, but it is a little bit hard to cut. So this is something that you would probably want to do before your pot gets pretty hard. And I'm just kind of smushing in some areas. I could also remove it. I'm gonna try using this little knife tool instead. I might get a little bit more success with this. You just have to be really careful because, as you can probably guess, knives are sharp. So make sure you're really careful. Like I'm making these short strokes. I'm not like pushing and hoping for the best. All right, let's see. That looks pretty good. I could also give it a little bit of a stomp too, and that'll make it nice and flat as well, right? I'm actually also just really quickly make sure that there's no excess clay on the inside. All right. So now my pot is ready for a lid, okay? So kind of like in my stencils and tracers video, is we are going to use the rim of the pot to our advantage. So I already have a slab rolled out here. If you need to know how to make a slab, you should check out the rolling a slab video. And I'm going to take my pot and I'm going to flip it upside down because there is a chance that the base, even though this is a straight vessel, there is a solid chance that the base is more narrow than the top, right? Or just that they're not the same size. So after I have put the pot like that, I'm going to use that as my tracer to cut my slab. All right. And then I'm going to remove it. So I could potentially leave my lid like this. However, once this is dry, like it's not really gonna go anywhere now, but once this is dry, if I were to pick up the pot, the lid is going to fall right out, all right? So we need to make, I believe it's called a lip, right? We need to make a lip, which is that little like circular thing inside. So I actually kind of have the advantage of that the clay left an indent where the inside of the pot would be, but I'm going to pretend that that's not there. I could go based on that, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to grab a little bit more clay and I'm going to roll out a coil. So now, instead of similar to a coil pot, we're going to measure out how much we need. However, instead of measuring the rim of the pot, you want to try to measure the inside, which can be a bit difficult. Think about there. Let me squish this together and see if it'll fit without losing it. I'm gonna try to smush it inside of there. Okay. I'm gonna carefully remove it. And I'm going to place it on my slab that I rolled out. Then I'm going to trace the inside and the outside. I don't know if you saw, but when I placed the coil or the ring down, I did go based on that guideline that the pot had thankfully left inside. All right, so I've got this. Then I'm going to, as you can probably guess, score it up. Then I'm going to slip it and place it. Right? Before I move on, I'm just gonna try to double check to see if this will fit. It's not quite fitting yet. So, but that's okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this tool and I'm going to blend the clay. Making these lips is challenging. Don't get me wrong. This is not easy. It is a bit of trial and error, and that is okay. All right, for the inside, I might have a bit of a hard time using that tool, so I am going to use this tool. And as we're blending, there's a really solid chance that you're going to adjust where the clay is. Now let's try. It might also only be able to fit from a specific angle. I'm gonna smush it in. Gently wiggle it out. Make it flat again. And I'm just doing that so that it might conform to the clay a little bit better. I think I'm gonna let this dry a little bit before I go back to it. Because you do want it to be snug, but you don't want it to be too snug. Maybe I'll take a little bit off the edge. And see if this helps. So I'm just using my needle tool and I'm just gonna really gently scrape some clay off the edge. Try again. That went a little bit easier. All right, that went in a little bit easier. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to let this dry for maybe like 15 minutes, just so that the clay isn't so wet, and then I'm gonna try it again. I've been letting this dry a little bit. It's a little bit less than leather hard, and I did do some little finishing touches to this. It's still a bit soft, but it's not wet anymore. So I'm going to gently slide it into place, or find the place that is best to fit it into. Because since this is organic, it's not going to work really well. So now that I was able to get the lid on, I'm going to let it dry for a little while like this, preferably to leather hard. So something that I totally forgot to mention here is when you stick the lid inside the coil pot to dry, make sure that the clay that is on the lid or on the pot is not super wet, because if it's wet, it's going to fuse together. It's not going to work. So the lid and the pot need to be fairly dry, not quite leather hard, but like stiff, before you can stick the lid into the pot to dry. All right, that's it.